I was interested in the idea that, Venice as a city with its many craftsmanships and the idea of activating some of those, practices and knowledges. And so working within a certain fabrication, wood carpenters and glass blowers. So I tried to, I wanted to work with the same carpentry that Carlos Carpa had worked before. So I found the workshop and I contacted them. And I felt this is really the place I want to work with, these people that have so much, this kind of ancient knowledge of woodworking in kind of very old-fashioned way. And because part of my research and work was related also to Scarpa's buildings and objects that he has made apart from other people, I thought these are the people I can start like a dialogue with. I often make lamps because I'm interested in how light modulates space, and I think that's also a very sculptural, quality light has. And but I don't see them as design objects. For me they are sculptures. They are really, big and heaviness, and you see the quality of the glass and the way they suspended. They look like I would suspend this the same way I would suspend another type of sculpture. So for me they are not, but they are functional. They have this, they have light. They're intended to give light, but I don't see them differently as some other sculptures have. And then regarding to the qualities of the wood making, I'm not interested in the idea of the Danish design, but I was interested, as I said, in working with this workshop that has collaborated with Carlos Carpa. Not because they have collaborated with him only, but because it's this idea of activating, the craftsmanship that exists in the city, which is still active, but and that, it's also a way to giving them work. So this knowledge is not, it's still alive, and perpetuating this know-how. I think like the works have titles, and the titles are names of people. And these people, which are not, I'm just giving the first names of these people, but I'm not saying exactly who they were. But I think when one, as with everything in life, if you get interested in something, then you can go yourself and do more research about it and get deeper into the subject, and you find out who these people were. So I'm actually interested in, it's not just about my work, but also about the, things that influenced me and people that have influenced me, and also I think people that have passed through Venice and were completely, contaminating the idea of modernism in the city, which is such a, kind of heavy context that the city has in terms of architecture and its, urban planning and kind of sacred image of the city. And these people really changed it in a way. They did a lot of Carlos Carpa and Igla Trincanato. They really changed the way we look at museums and we look at art through the interventions they did with their work. So one of the first ideas was to, as I said, reactivate these workshops, like the glass blowers and this carpentry, so like glass and wood. And the other materials, they come through, working from, like here we have these sculptures made of rubber, which kind of parasite the main sculpture, which is made of wood. It's like this kind of pole, stretched pole, which is installed in the kind of axe of the space. And but this work in particular, I was thinking, because since I was thinking that my work could not be, installed as previous installations I've done using ropes on the ceiling and using using the ceiling as a support for the work where sculpture could gravitate. And in this case, I thought of using poles, vertical poles. So I was not so much dependent on the ceiling, I mean just as a support, like a stretcher. So the structure became a support for sculpture. And then I started to think of artists who have dealt with this in the past. And so I thought of the work of Lígia Clark, which is a Brazilian artist from the concrete movement in Brazil in the 50s and the 60s. She did these works called trepantes, like climbers. And the idea of that sculpture doesn't have, it's made of soft material, rubber. It needs a support to gain form and produce movement and shape in space. And so this is a kind of a very direct allusion to that, since the whole show is constructed on this idea that sculpture becomes something which needs support to exist, to kind of starts to parasite other elements in space. It starts downstairs in this passage on the ground floor. I was interested in the idea that, it's like the first case. People who walk through that space are, they are not necessarily the audience that we have now for the biennial, but it could be, the people who use the hotel in the courtyard or the foundation. So I was interested in this kind of ambiguity of the space that it has by itself. And so I was trying to create this kind of interior space downstairs, which is in a kind of semi-public space, and introducing this kind of grids and or partitions that guides, visitors. They have to walk into that room in a different way, but also perceiving, the light and standing in the benches or watching, listening to the concert which is happening downstairs, and so creating like a kind of environment for that to happen, which is not necessarily the exhibition, the so-called exhibition room.